Hi, everybody. It's Linda G and our favorite man about town, Sterling.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. Hopefully everybody had an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah, I was just telling them my dogs didn't get that notice. They woke me up instead of 6 a.m. at 5 a.m.
Forgot to set their clocks back.
Forgot
Absolutely.
to set their clocks back. So you were going to thank someone?
Oh, I just at the top of the show here, I just want to send a shout out and a sincere thanks to Grant Neisner and his wife. They did some new 3D graphics for my channel, did a new 3D version of the logo for Sterling Psychic Medium. So just wanted to give a shout out there, and I'll give a shout out on my channel too. But thanks very much to Grant Neisner and his wife.
You go, Grant. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, we got good questions, my friend. The first question is, does Confucius have a message?
He does, and he came through yesterday and also around this morning. I've never talked with him before, but he's a well-known Chinese philosopher. But one of the interesting things he said to me, which I thought was very current with what's going on here now, he said, just keep in mind that people worldwide and governments are inextricably linked. So there is no difference between people and governments, and those that you believe are your enemies now could in fact be your neighbors in the future, which is interesting. So he said that everybody needs to work for balance in the universe, because keep that in mind, that what you think are differences are really make you more alike. So I thought that was interesting, coming from a Chinese philosopher and all the strife between, world nations like the US and China and Russia. So it stuck out to me. He was just saying, make sure that you understand that those you think are enemies could be your neighbors in the future. So.
Interesting. That's great.
Which, by the way, I was going to say one other thing. What I get out of that message from Confucius is that as we move forward a number of decades on this planet, there's going to be much more of a homogeneous nature to our nations and cultures and people. So I think that there'll be nations coming together over a number of decades. So I think it's kind of he's prophesizing what's coming.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so question 2, Youngkin. 1, we know that. Will the lives of the people in Virginia and all the gains that they've made be adversely affected?
No, I wouldn't go as far as to say they'll all be adversely affected, but what is going to happen is it looks like Youngkin is going to try to unwind a lot of the Biden initiatives, right? So if you look at things around infrastructure and social programs, and even the Roe v. Wade fights going on, but he will try to unravel it. What I see is a lot of like state to state legislation and legal fights. So around Virginia, he'll try to unravel things, but it'll just end up in a lot of different court battles. So in the end, it doesn't look like it's going to unravel.
What do you think of that new district attorney, the one that posed with an AK-15?
Which one's that?
Not district, district attorney. She's the new district attorney. She's Republican. She's a Black woman. She posing with an AK-15, and she won't say her status with the vaccine.
Yeah, and I didn't see that. I haven't been watching a lot of news, but is that she's in Virginia?
She's in Virginia, and 6 of the insurgents who were at January 6th have been voted in locally in politics in Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, my guys are still saying that it's just going to be a court-to-court battle.
That sounds totally right.
Court-to-court battle, but it's not going to result in a big overturning of a lot of.
Because well, somebody just got a federal court to put a stay on Biden saying that the vaccine thing with companies over 100 people. But I was listening to some commentators, and they were saying, in 1903. They made a vaccine mandate for smallpox, and it went up to the Supreme Court, and they said, yeah, this is for the sake and well-being of the workers. Yes, absolutely. So I doubt very much this will get reversed.
I think we're in agreement.
Okay. Linda and Sterling. Oh, me too. My question to you both, will there be a recount audit for Virginia?
By the way, let me answer the question this way, because this is the first time you and I have talked about the Virginia election, right? So I first want to let you know, because you haven't talked, is I'm as disappointed as anybody, as everybody, that the Virginia election didn't turn out the way at least my guys predicted. And I'll tell you that no less than half a dozen times when I asked the question, they said that McAuliffe would win. Now, and I just got a cold chill. What's interesting is, and we'll answer this question directly here in a second, I don't believe we have all the facts yet. So I think that there's more facts that will come out related to this election. And I think it's also a wake-up call. This is something, everything happens for a reason in the universe. You know that. There are no accidents.
Right.
So I think this is also an event that's going to force a lot of the Democrats to take these elections even more seriously and audits more seriously, and to them to really stand up, because when you're dealing with a team on the other side that's not working ethically, you can't use ethical rules all the time to try to battle that. You've got to kind of come, figuratively speaking, you have to come out swinging a little bit for what's right. So anyway, answering the question now that this person asked, I do believe that we're going to see some sort of an audit of that election. And I'm not saying it's going to overturn it, but I think it's going to bring out some results. They're going to say, wait a minute, things weren't handled well. And this will then speak to how the Voter Rights Act gets passed eventually middle of next year. But these all be factors that go into it.
Mm-hmm. His grandson voted twice. His underage grandson voted twice. Not McAuliffe, the guy that won. Youngkin. His grandson voted twice. So there's just something. And here's the other thing that I felt. For some reason, I wasn't frightened when he won either. Not like with Trump. I wasn't frightened. And in a way, watch this. So now what are they going to say? He won. So what are you going to say? The election's rigged? Is it always only going to be when a Democrat wins? This kind of makes it a little calmer. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I remember there were 1 million mail-in ballots, or there's 1 million early voting that went on, right?
Yeah.
And I think the election was lost by 80,000 ballots, something of that nature. So anyway, more will come out. So in answer to this person's question, more will come out, yes.
And, basically it's written in stone that you can only be governor for 4 years, and only one other time has a governor won the second term.
Right.
So, okay. Do I pronounce his name right? I always mispronounce. I have tongue tie. McAuliffe has hired lawyer Mark Elias regarding their delay of absentee ballots in Virginia. Will this lawsuit be successful? Oh, I didn't know he was doing that.
What I get on that is they're telling me like the train has left the station. But what I mean by that is this investigation was started long before the election even occurred. So, it was before November 2nd. But it looks like this particular investigation, I think it was all about validation for ballots, like Social Security numbers. So it doesn't look like it's going to pan out to be something that's going to say overturn the election, but it's going to be a factor. This will be a factor in the overall evaluation of that election. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Is the DOJ currently investigating 445? If so, when will they inform the public?
Oh, it's a very common question, isn't it? Yeah, there's like a warehouse full of information and indictments ready to drop, but I don't see a lot of them dropping in a big way until like spring of next year. So we're going to get out into next year before all this starts dropping big time, and you start seeing one after another. So yeah, it's all being investigated, but there's so many tentacles to all this, thievery and things that were going on. There's so many tentacles that they've got to make sure they kind of cap off each one of the cases and don't leave it open-ended. So, yeah.
I just watched somebody this morning, and the State Department is missing thousands and thousands of dollars of gifts. Mm-hmm. They shut the cameras off, so you can't see who came in and out. Mm-hmm. But thousands of gifts that the State Department received, including a $500,000 bottle of whiskey from Japan, is missing. So there you go. There's some underhandedness. So they'll be checking it out. How far back in time or in the future do you see psychic abilities reach?
That breaks out in just, I'm going to tell you a couple of categories. So one category is, I know that when I do this kind of work, if I'm talking about something that has to do with humankind, it can go backwards and forwards by hundreds of years. So humankind.
Right.
If I'm looking at someone that's an individual, it really scales back to more like years and into decades. So it's a little bit of different scale. It makes sense to me that if you're dealing with something that affects everybody in the world, you will be able to have a longer view. So
right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an interesting question. I've never even thought of it. When buying or wearing clothes from thrift shops, does the past person's energy stay on the items despite washing them? Or as my mama used to say, whoosh.
There you go. Yeah. Well, the answer is yes, but they're clarifying for me. It's not in terms of a haunting. It's in terms of like they absolutely are smitten with the fact that, let's say you like the same garment they liked, and so there's an attraction. So they will come around and they feel good energy from you because you liked, let's say, the shawl or the jacket or the purse or something that they had. So not a haunting, but they do come around. Yeah, it's a compliment.
Oh, cool. When buying, oh wait, I just read that. Rachel Maddow did a story about the server in Trump Tower communicating by pings with Russian Alpha Bank and Spectrum Health, the company of Betsy DeVos's husband. What were they communicating about? And will this backroom communication ever be fully exposed? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you discuss this way back when?
We did. Yeah, we discussed all the server traffic and different areas.
Like something was coming up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I'm being told here there are two major agencies, the FBI and the CIA is already all over this. Yeah. Because they originally, for some reason, this has to do with money transactions offshore, but it also has to do with inherent security for the United States. So that's why the CIA is involved with this as well in the background. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is going to be. I'll tell you, there's so much stuff. It's like we're waiting, like the waters come in before it, tsunami, and then boom. How can we get our deceased dogs to come around us and comfort us when we are sad and upset? Well,
like a lot of spirits on the other side, if you invoke their name, and so you actually call them through verbally, and then look for signs, that's all part of the process. So if you ask your deceased pet to come around and say, I love you, I miss you, and then look for a sign, you might find their toy hidden under a couch. You might see a picture of them, you find in a desk drawer, but all these are signs from your animals that we're okay. Yeah.
I know my Moochie was around for a long time, and I read a lot of people, include, like Kim at Intuitive View. She had that cute little dog that died. And she sees that dog all the time. That dog's coming around. I'm telling you, it's almost like the dogs and cats can come around easier than the humans.
They do. And our St. Bernard Einstein comes around all the time. I feel his presence. I feel a cold chill. Or if I'm thinking about him, I'll find a little piece of his hair somewhere that I never would have seen before. Because he had a very big coat. But the whole house will be clean, and then I'll see something right under my desk. There he is. So.
Okay, there you go. What will be the outcome of John Lewis voter protection bill? By the way, the Republicans stopped it again. Fourth time.
Yeah, it's going to be a boomerang effect, but I always see that by the middle of next year, it's going to get passed, but it's going to get passed in a modified version. So even some of the things we're talking about with how things went with the Virginia election, all these things are going to be integrated into the negotiation. So eventually pass in a modified form. They're telling me mid-2022, so they're saying.
I was very surprised that AOC did not vote. New York's mad at her, did not vote for that, what just passed in Congress. And all those, 6 or 7 Republicans crossed the border and voted on it. I loved it.
Yeah, the infrastructure bill we're talking about.
Yeah, they said they wanted to come back to their state and have something to offer them.
Right.
Will the Fairness Doctrine ever be reestablished?
Yes, and this relates to the FCC Fairness Doctrine. I'm pretty sure the person's asking about that. That FCC Fairness Doctrine was in place for many years and then was removed. But what I'm being told is it's going to come back again but it's going to be married with a new fairness doctrine that'll govern news agencies, social platforms. So the fairness doctrine was all about, with the FCC, all fair and balanced reporting. So yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back within a 2-year period here. Yeah.
Okay. Why won't the Dems play hardball? What are they afraid of?
Well, what I'm being told is that this has a lot to do with the breed of Democrats that are in place right now. So what we're going to see is an insurgence over the years here of what I'm going to call out of the box thinkers, Democrats that aren't beholden, let's say, to any particular institution or afraid of, not being reelected. So this has to do, I'm being told, with kind of the breed of Democrats in there. They're afraid about constituents and what people will think, and they're actually afraid in some cases to stand out on their own. Not all of them are, but so they're just telling me we're gonna have a new breed of Democrat coming in, of out of the box thinkers. Yeah.
What does it mean when an angel appears on a phone photo?
First and foremost, they're trying to say hello. They're trying to say, hey, I'm here. And in many cases, it's an angel that you've either brought to you. It could be somebody that's in your spiritual family, so to speak, that is, angelic family. But they're just trying to say hello and be a witness that we're around. So it's a friendly gesture. Yeah.
That's great. Do we always stay within our soul group and families, or do some souls advance so much that they join other soul groups and are no longer connected to families?
So when I talk about soul family, that also, for me, the synonymous term is extended spiritual family. So for a long time, we're connected with our extended spiritual family, several hundred members, like on the other side. But as time goes on, you can elevate to another spiritual family. You can. So for me, it's soul group and extended spiritual family are synonymous. Yeah.
I've seen that when I read people and their deceased family. Sometimes they'll be upset because the parents aren't together, but that's because their journey is different. They serve, just because you're married to someone on earth doesn't mean you're going to join them over there.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Interesting. Do you still see both the House and the Senate remaining in Democratic hands in 2022 after what just occurred in Virginia?
I do, because what you're going to see here is a bit of a tidal wave in new kind of, Democratic activity and Democratic action. So everybody got slapped on the hand, so to speak, and they figured out there's a wake up call. Right. And yeah, so I always saw, and I think you did too, that we would maintain both houses in 2022, but it's going to be an uphill. It's like salmon swimming upstream. You got to fight for it.
So also, Biden's numbers are going to go up. And so I think the living gets better. So people are saying, no, I don't want to change this.
Right.
Okay. Each time someone talks or comments negative or positive about a person, is this person getting power, more presence, and evolution?
The question is, every time you talk.
Each time someone talks or comments, negative or positive, about a person, is this person getting power?
Well, what I get for the simple answer to that is it has no relevance to positive or negative speak. It has a relevance to truth. So anytime you speak the truth about an individual, you elevate yourself and you elevate them. But there's actually no version of positive or negative to the truth. Does that make sense?
Right. And each truth can be different.
Right.
So, yeah. Like I told everybody, we got to get off the Trump train, because our vile hate for him and the talking trash about him, it doesn't help. It doesn't help us, and it doesn't hurt him. He just keeps on keeping on. The meantime, all of us are all got, ulcers.
Absolutely, but they lay a stake in the ground around truth. That's all that matters, is the truth.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Will Biden and Garland start shedding light on the GOP lies, corruption with dark money?
Ask the first part of that question again.
Will Biden and Garland start shedding light on the GOP lies, corruption, and dark money?
Yeah, absolutely. And this kind of resonates with some of the other questions that have been asked here, but it's for me, we're getting around springtime of next year where it's really going to be an avalanche. So it's not going to, I don't think it's going to happen before the end of this year, they're telling me, because there's something about they might think about it, but then there's some sort of a scheduling problem of getting it all released by the end
Well,
of the
I
year.
just feel that they were swamped.
Yeah. And so it looks like I see a breath of fresh air, like everybody breathing a sigh of relief. Okay, now we get it all out in the open, but it's like spring 2022. Yeah.
Okay, so can I ask you, it might be on here, but so will Merrick Garland do something about Bannon not testifying?
Yeah, absolutely. If I go back several shows, when the first group of subpoenas went out and Bannon was in that group, my team was telling me that of all the people subpoenaed, for whatever reason, Bannon was going to get the worst of it and actually end up in jail. So I see all that still as part of the trajectory of where it's all going. Yeah.
Yeah, and he may show us we're so bad that they say they won't even offer him a deal because they got what they need. Did you see General Flynn in there at all?
Yeah, he and his brother, both. Yeah.
Okay, what happened to the money that was supposed to go to the Ukraine and never got there? What happened about the sale to Saudi Arabia for arms? What happened to the money they got from the sale of the COVID equipment?
Well, I just saw a big indication that it all went offshore. It's being shepherded here somehow in offshore accounts, but the FBI is already aware of it. So this is all part of like, there's going to be a world banking agreement that's going to bring a lot of those funds back. So,
well,
yeah.
I even see Trump trying to wash his hands of it because that's how he does. You know, you never can trace it right back to him. But I see his family involved in something, and it's going to be a big boom. Like, you know, your family made money off the US government.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah. By the way, I just got that when Biden was in this last big conference overseas, that he actually reviewed some of this with the various nations and said, look, here's some of the new banking laws we're looking to put into effect. And so that was part of a discussion. It was not made public, but it was a discussion.
Okay, that's interesting. Will the world community, including the US, who is the worst polluter? No, I thought China is the worst polluter. Yeah, China's the worst polluter right now. Be able to halt the climate change before it's too late, since it seems now that we are 10 seconds to midnight.
Well, what I've seen on this several times, and I'm just getting it again, is that you're going to see dramatic difference over the next decade, the next 10 years here. So we're in terms of stopping the incremental, 1 or 2 degree rise in temperature, so to speak. But then it's going to be a full 30 years for all the new green technology worldwide to completely get it all under control. So they'll like stop it and then start to turn it around. So it's not too late. It might have been too late if 45 was still in the White House.
Oh, you're not kidding. Will the Apprentice tape showing Trump's action behind the scenes ever become public?
I unfortunately, I just got none whatsoever. But that's because they're going to go under some legal scrutiny, and the production company, Mark Burnett Productions, is going to hold them back. So it's going to come under some privacy, like, it's not public information, private.
Right, and he wasn't president then, and yeah. I felt the same thing when you said that. Do angels?
Our guides normally agree, by the way.
We know they normally agree. Do angels have knowledge or work with extraterrestrials? Also, can angels appear as light beings? As light beings, is there other beings of light?
Interesting nested question there. So first off, extraterrestrials and angels communicate all the time. So yeah, it's all part of the universal structure. Absolutely. Because extraterrestrials could not exist in the universe without a connection to the one force and angels, all that. The second question I heard there were, do angels show themselves as light beings? Absolutely. But the third part of that question, I'm not sure I understood. Is it other types of light beings?
Are there other beings of light?
Well, if I talk about a light being, I'm talking about angelic energy. So I would tell you that that's more definitive. I would say no, that if you're the angels, they're light beings. Yeah.
Okay. Do you see anything coming up next week?
I do a couple of things here. I do see, interesting enough, a radical shift among the Democrats. They're telling me in terms of, need to take action. You're going to see a real shift here like you haven't seen before. I see an aggressive rollout of the vaccines for children, right? 5 to 11. Looks like a lot of programs will get initiated. Aggressive action on the vaccine pills, right? From Merck and now Pfizer.
Isn't that wonderful?
Pfizer just announced Friday, right? That's going to happen. And something's coming up here. Actually, we talked about Bannon, but something's coming up for Bannon this week, that there's some other big chunk of information coming out. It's like, and they're talking about some kind of secrecy. So they uncover something that he knows. And now that, I don't know why they're telling me Bannon's going to come up in the press again this week. So, yeah.
Do you think they'll mandate children like they do about other vaccines? I don't see them mandating it right now.
No, I don't see it. It's going to, I do see as we get into next year, you're going to see some mandates around some schools, right? So there will be, yeah. But that's only after there's, the effectiveness of the vaccine is completely validated. Now, it's completely validated in a lot of doctors' opinions. But it's going to take a while for school boards and parents to get on board and say, okay, we're fully there. Yeah.
Right. So, okay. Do you have any information that your guys want to share?
They do. For this week, they're telling me to make sure you live your life with purpose. So that has to do with like aligning with your life purpose. And when you live your life with purpose, the purpose that was intended, you actually help others to live their life with purpose. So it's actually more than just living your life in a state of love, but take it to the next level. Now, what is your purpose and how do you get your purpose out there, and others will benefit from it? So the theme for the message today is all about purpose and living with life purpose. Yeah.
And I notice if you do a prayer or if you ask for something, if you ask for it with a purpose, with something that'll help others. Like you can say, oh, I want to be famous. For what? So I can have a big ego and tell everybody I'm famous. Or you can say, I want to do this job so well, others seek me out because I really give people what they want with what I do. I help people energetically disengage from their own realities and come into mine. It's weird. It's the language that you speak. So it's kind of cool.
And I've always called that, I always say that there has to be a give back to the universe.
Yeah.
So what is the give back? Because it doesn't matter if you want to, let's say, make $10 million or $10 billion. So how are you giving back to the universe that enriches the lives of a lot of other people? Money is just an exchange of energy. So if you're really doing it to help others, the universe does reward you in a sense, because it helps make your life easier,
right?
Because you're helping the universe. So I call it give back to the universe. So yeah.
Right. Because there's a lot of real artistic, creative people, painters, writers and stuff, but you got to watch your mindset, because if you do it because you love it, and the rest follows. So. Right.
Absolutely.
Well, my friend, it flew by.
Yeah. And just real quickly, I would just like to mention, if anybody needs to reach me, it's just sterlingpsychicmedium.com. And then you look for the book online tab, and the calendar is always up to date. So
awesome. And I want to thank Linda, your lovely wife, and Dan, my assistant, for doing all of these, going through all these questions.
Absolutely. I know they went through several hundred questions, collectively between this show and our show, and they always try to keep the bar high, the standard high of.
I love the questions that they present.
They're very thoughtful. The questions are sophisticated and very thoughtful.
I don't even look till I sit down with you, and I always enjoy the questions.
And I don't want to know in advance either.
Yeah.
I just want to, yeah,
it's easier not to know. All right, my friend.
All right. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
We'll see you guys soon. You take care. Cheers.